Welcome to the High Ground podcast and part 2 of our Quentin Tarantino thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 of 10. 9, sorry.
9. Yeah, I'm Stevie W, of course.
And Callum, obviously.
So, it's been a couple of weeks since we actually watched Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I did rewatch it for this.
Same here.
The honour. But, I mean, I think I'm so ingrained... It's so ingrained in film culture, isn't it, that you'd have something to say even if you didn't research it.
The Royale with cheese. I've got to ask you, where were you when you saw it the first time?
Oh God, I watched it with my other friend Jordan. I mean, he's a film nut as well, like us. And I must admit, when I first saw it, I hated Tarantino at the time because obviously I think when I was younger, when you're younger, I think it doesn't. I'm talking like 12 or 13. It maybe doesn't resonate with you the way the films are made. So like, when I was that young, I grew up on 80s action films, horror, you know. So like, I mean, there was never any restriction in our house for age certificates. I mean, unless it was like Caligula or something like that. But no. So there was I grew up with the old sort of classic film school stuff of linear storytelling. And when I first saw Pulp Fiction and I got to the end, I was like, but John Travolta's dead. How's he alive? I don't like this.
Did you watch Pulp Fiction before Reservoir Dogs then?
Yes. Yeah, I never saw Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs was probably one of the last of his films I watched before Kill Bill came out. So I do that with a lot of series. Like the first Star Wars film I went to see was Empire. I didn't watch the original first, you know. So it kind of annoys me. I annoy myself when I say to people about being purists with the order of things when most films I watched years ago. I watched Aliens first before Alien.
I can understand that.
You know, and I think it's just because that's my dad's. My dad was watching those films and he was picking his favourites for me. And luckily those were series where, apart from Star Wars, maybe you didn't really need to see the original. I mean, I suppose you could watch Empire and get away with... Because the first one is basically just an adventure. Oh, sorry, we're on Star Wars again. We need to stop doing that.
And I think if you watch one of the other podcasts...
2 fucking minutes in.
Yeah, you have to... We're going to do one very soon where where we both take shots every time we mention Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
And for our American viewers, that means drunk, not annoyed. Yeah. Not viewers, listeners. I'm pissed already.
That's definitely on the card.
Yeah, no, what about you though? You saw it at cinema.
I saw it in the cinema. I was at college when Reservoir Dogs came out, and Reservoir Dogs was at that time, you know, it was a big thing.
That was 92?
93?
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm good.
It was 93.
Yeah. So I think I saw Reservoir Dogs in Kettering at the Odeon.
That's the town nearest to us, by the way, if anyone's...
And I saw Pulp Fiction. I actually remember the cinema because I actually remember going. I saw it at what had been the MGM cinema at the time.
Okay.
Or Virgin Cinema, but it's now Cineworld in Northampton, Sixfields, Northampton.
God, the corporate things doing them all in, isn't it?
The fact I actually remember where I was, because they were giving away free posters afterwards, and I think it got damaged when I was at university. October 94, so yeah, I was at college. Was when that came out, and I'm at January. It says January 93 for Reservoir Dogs, but I did see it when I was at college, so I must have seen it when they did it June 94 on a re-release. But I did see it when I was at college. I do know that.
I'd love to have seen. The only ones I've seen in the cinema from Tarantino are, I think it's Death Proof onwards. That's the only ones I've seen. So
you've seen. Let me.
I was slightly too young for Kill Bill when it first came out. So yeah, it was Death. That was Death Proof was the next one, wasn't it?
Yeah, Kill Bill.
Yeah, so that. I mean, we were lucky enough to see Grindhouse.
Oh, that's brilliant.
In one go, weren't we? But I counted that as my first Tarantino experience in the cinema. I've seen them all past that, but I mean, yeah, I'd love to see everything up to Kill Bill now, just to complete the whole thing. You know.
My one is.
I was going to say the circle is now completely.
Yeah. I am getting the alcohol in for the next time we do this.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't see, because I was at university at the time, and for some reason I don't know why I didn't get to see Jackie Brown. But other than Jackie Brown, I've seen all of them. And watching Pulp Fiction after Reservoir Dogs, to me, you said you got non-linear filmmaking.
Yeah.
After Reservoir Dogs and the snappy dialogue of Reservoir Dogs right from the start of the
tipsy.
And having little things that's sort of like, that's what you I used to go and see Tarantino films just like later for Kevin Smith films with the Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy. I went to see him for the dialogue, but Tarantino more than any. And now I still go and see Tarantino movies for the dialogue and the soundtracks now as much as the dialogue.
Yeah.
But when when you're watching a Tarantino film, that you're in for something
Different.
so special.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was thinking the other day because how Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is moving up my ranks as at the moment is teetering on number 2 as my favourite Tarantino movie, behind surprisingly Jackie Brown. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and the soundtrack
it's amazing, isn't it?
The way that they constructed the actual physical version of the soundtrack, because I have it on CD, is the most original, fantastic. Maybe not be the best music, but in terms of construction,
it's clever. Yeah,
it's the best one I've ever purchased.
You know, like arranging the story via the soundtrack. Like if you listen to any Tarantino soundtrack, you can follow. It's basically like a follow along the film.
Yeah.
You know, you can remember the scene by what song was in it, and I know that's how he writes his films, isn't it? But it's just Pulp Fiction's my personal favourite, and I know that's really boring because that's what everyone else says, but because it's like the Goldfinger of Tarantino for me. It's where the phenomenon is established, and where everything that began in Reservoir Dogs is refined into what we know now. I mean, like you say, I think you were just saying earlier, like the rest of the films don't really have the non-linear stuff after Pulp Fiction, because I don't know. I think maybe because he sort of, maybe with Jackie Brown onwards, he embraced the mainstream a little bit more. But these first two are definitely like, they're pure Tarantino. Like it's the Tarantino shot, if you like, at part of the chaser.
Coming out the boot.
The
trunk shot, as they say in America.
Trunk shot.
And where you see where the characters aren't talking about what you normally expect in genre
like gangster archetype
like we're gonna go and go as a subject like a pilot or a foot massage.
Explaining to me what a TV pilot was. I mean, that's how I found out what a pilot was, through Pulp Fiction. And the foot massage thing is it's just, and the Royal cheese, like we were saying, it's what normal people talk about. And like they might be bad people, but gangsters are still human beings. They still talk about things that interest them or annoy them, and that's what real people are like. I mean, I know they've become like, that style of filmmaking is now like Tarantino-esque, like it has its own label. But it's naturalistic, isn't it?
Yeah. You say about the non-linear thing.
Yeah.
Now, Tarantino doesn't like to make the same movie twice.
No.
So he'd done the non-linear twice. So it's like time to change. It's like he did Kill Bill to prove that he could do
a pastiche.
A
kung fu movie.
Yeah. And I mean, going slightly off subject, and is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I wasn't impressed by the trailer.
No, it's really generic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think a lot of studios still don't know how to market Tarantino.
And I went to see, and I really wasn't happy about the fact that they were touching something I was expecting to be spoilers. Switch it off now if you haven't seen it. I expected the ending to
the ending was
in Hollywood. I didn't expect it. So as soon as I came out of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, within 3 days, because I had to see it on day release because I didn't want anyone to ruin it for me, then I got my fiance to go and see it about 2-3 days later so we could go and sit through it. And this is a long film. And for the fact that my fiance, she loves the film, but not like she won't have it sit down and have an analysis. But I said to her, we have to go see it. She was happy to come with me to see the film again and sit through it.
Yeah, same mine.
So we can enjoy it again.
Yeah.
And how many directors out there and will do that? How many directors can say, you know what, I'm going to go sit down in the cinema, and mainstream audiences will pay, even if they want to see it once, just because it's a Quentin Tarantino film. That film, Tarantino opens the doors, and it's more through Pulp Fiction than Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction, I think it's the gateway film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like for Tarantino. Like if someone was saying, I want to get into Tarantino, which film shall I watch? I mean, I would naturalistically say just start from the beginning, but if you absolutely wanted an essence of Tarantino, I'd say Pulp Fiction. 100%. It's just the through lines are all executed so well in it, like the different stories that you have, and that it looks back on itself. And I know that he came under flack from a lot of people at the time, saying, well, I was just doing what Godard did and the French New Wave and that, but there's only so many times you can quote the French New Wave and film school stuff before it sounds boring and hackneyed. You know, I mean, even all the 70s directors, you know, like Spielberg, Lucas, and Bogdanovich, all those sort of people, they were all like darlings of the French New Wave, and I think it was starting to get a bit boring, wasn't it, that they were copying it, you know, and someone to come up with their own school of film was great in the 90s, especially because the 90s for me are a really shit time for films. I think they're so, like, you've got mediocre superhero films, and it's just, I don't know.
I suppose you could compare it to hair metal when grunge came along
Yeah,
and wiped out all the
yeah,
hair metal. Tarantino came along, and if you go over by the 90s, all these studios that were throwing millions.
Yeah.
Studios were going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Or it just the whole glossy thing. People were getting sick of the glossy.
And it was like Michael Bay era as well. I mean, I like Michael Bay in the 90s, but you know, there's only so many disaster or action films that you can take before it gets sort of, right, I've had enough of this now. You know, especially disaster films in the 90s. I don't know why they thought the 90s was such a disastrous time, but I don't know how many times there was an asteroid film or a volcano or a flood or something like that. You know, it's just,
I like Twister.
Twister's not bad, and I like Volcano and Dante's Peak, but they all seem to come in twos in the 90s. You know, Armageddon, Deep Impact.
You can also argue that Die Hard actually had an impact on it, because everything at one point was Die Hard on a...
like Under Siege.
Yeah.
Under Siege is the first sort of copy for me of Die Hard, but done well, sort of.
I like Cliffhanger.
Yeah. I think Cliffhanger.
Die Hard on a mountain.
But
Die Hard 2. Die Hard in an airport.
Die Hard in an airport, yeah. It's like a formula now, though, isn't it? You know, like snakes on a plane.
Yeah.
It's that sort of, but more refined, obviously.
It's also, so, you know, if you look at the gross of Pulp Fiction, so just pull
I imagine it's hundreds of millions.
Pulp Fiction was 214. This is worldwide. 214.
So now that would be.
Compared to worldwide on, was 371.
Yeah, but I think people are more programmed to know what to expect now, aren't they? So they do flock to. You know, Tarantino film's like an event, isn't it now?
But still not.
Whereas I would love to have seen it when he wasn't a big thing. You know, like when he was just who's this new nerdy guy that's making these weird films.
See how much Reservoir Dogs took in. You know, this is brilliant. We used to have Halliwell's Film Guide to do things like this.
Yeah, and IMDb's
I actually
revolutionary.
still have those. I missed that sort of thing as well, where you actually had to do your research. Was wow.
2 million.
2 million for Reservoir Dogs on a budget of 1.2 million.
So only just.
Reservoir Dogs was a real cult hit back then, but now everybody knows Reservoir Dogs.
It still kind of feels like a cult film to me. It feels like the one you sort of pass around under the table with, don't you? You're like, oh, look at this first one. It's rough around the edges, but.
I got to ask, do you have the soundtracks? Pulp Fiction soundtrack?
I've got Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill. I just need Death Proof, Once Upon a Time, and. Oh no, I've got Hateful Eight and Django. Yeah, it's just the three I need. Yeah.
I've got Pulp, Reservoir.
You got them all, haven't you?
I had them all, but some of the CDs have got a bit corrupted somehow.
I mean, the use of like Misalou as like the main theme in Pulp Fiction. I mean, that song I just associate with Pulp Fiction now.
Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon.
Yeah, and Son of a Preacher Man as well. I used to hate that song, and then when I heard it in Pulp Fiction, I really liked it.
No missing one important thing about this. The quote about without such the quotability of the Ezekiel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to the point where it's on Nick Fury's grave.
It is. That's the thing. When we watched Civil War, that we were Winter Soldier the first time, and I was waiting. I was looking for it. So when it came to the grave, I was keeping an eye out. I said, "There's got to be. I wonder if they'll have." When I saw that, I would literally.
It's cool, isn't it? I mean, if you don't get it, then it doesn't matter. It just looks like a Bible thing. But if you do get it,
I'm going back to my notes now. Cause
also made up as well, isn't it? It's not an actual real Bible.
It is a Bible quote, but they just twisted it.
Oh, I thought it was made up. Was it not?
No, I'm sure it's a Bible quote.
Oh, fair enough.
But they actually just twisted. They just altered it.
Samuel Jackson looked terrified while he said it.
Oh, he is. that's the film that brought. This is where I have to say thank you, Quentin, for bringing Samuel L. Jackson to the forefront and making everybody love him.
I mean, would he be the guy he is now without Pulp Fiction? I don't know.
No.
Because he was kind of a bit player, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, that's the film that, I mean, if you look at what he did after that, and he's in Jackie Brown.
Yeah, Die Hard. Well, funny
Die
enough,
Hard, yeah. Die Hard, which also has. I was having a bad week. I was just I was smoking cigarettes and watching Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah.
McLean says, and that's
the
songs
he's actually
in.
Yeah. Oh my God, I never even realised that.
The Flowers on the Wall.
Yeah.
And which has also got Samuel L. Jackson in it.
Yeah.
And it's just.
It's like a tapestry of.
And you look for these.
I think another good thing about Pulp Fiction is that a lot of his films afterwards haven't been able to do as well. Is the particular chapter that is telling that particular story. You can tell. You can sort of say, oh well, it's the chapter with so and so, like the Golden Watch, or it's the Christopher Walken speech. And I think a lot of his films after that, you can't really. The chapters don't really have any. They're memorable, but you can't. I couldn't tell you which chapter in Hateful Eight is the chapter where so-and-so happens, you know. Whereas I know all the chapters off by heart, and also just chapters, like that's just cool. Like it's like a book, you know. It's Pulp Fiction.
It is, but which is how it gets the name from.
Yeah.
And he's and John Travolta when he's on the toilet's actually reading Pulp, which is.
I don't know what it's called now.
I did a lot of notes.
I think as well, don't we owe his resurgence to Tarantino as well? Because he was sort of flagging, wasn't he?
Tell you when all.
Scientology, yeah.
No, I was going to say that word, but yes, that's the word which I really. Yeah. That was a career killer as well. That was the whole Battlefield Earth.
Oh god, yeah.
Before that, he was doing those Look Who's Talking sequels. I just want to do a bit of a shout out right now to Sally Menk.
Oh yeah.
Who passed away in 2010. Who was editor.
She's like the Werner Fields to Tarantino, isn't she? Like,
edited them all until Inglorious.
And
up to Inglorious.
There's a woman for Scorsese as well, wasn't there? I'm sure there was. Oh no, Marsha Lucas was.
Marsha Lucas,
but there was another one as well. I can't remember.
I mean, if you considering all these interviewers say about his portrayal of women, his editor until she passed away was a woman. So, and I think Sally Menk deserves credit for his style as much as he does, because she's the one that edited it.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So love and respect to Sally Menk.
Editing's one of the main things you do associate with Tarantino, actually, isn't it? The pace is essential to how you remember them.
Yeah. And if it was. And if it was,
especially the image that's displayed on IMDb for right now of Inglorious Bastards, I think that's the most well edited of his films. Like the pace of that film is perfect. I love the way it.
That week one.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's weak, don't you? But the pace of how everything leads into the next thing, it's the closest I can find to Pulp Fiction actually, in terms of pace.
I like the fact that when you go. The bit when I was watching it the other day was the bit where they get to the house, Marvin and his house, or early.
Oh yeah.
And it's like they look at the watches and they hold back. Camera stays in front of the door, but they move backwards.
Yeah.
Just to talk crap for like 1-2 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, we're watching from in a distance, voyeuristically, as they're just chatting crap.
Yeah.
And. So I could, Inglorious may have a better pacing, but I just like the way that we're taking time out, and that is very,
Inglorious has the studio sheen as well. Like you can tell it's more higher budget.
Yeah,
that is one thing I do like about the first two, is that they do seem like you just filmed like someone walking down, like you say, down a corridor talking. The rest of them have that sort of sheen over them that they have more money.
That's what I liked about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though, was it was the big glossy.
Yeah, but it suits that because it's supposed to be fairy tale, isn't it? I suppose. But
the Grindhouse was pretty.
Yeah, Grindhouse. It works
dirty.
on Grindhouse. Yeah. It does really work on that.
It's my scar. No, it's your cousin. Oh, I think that's got one of the music when that kicks in at the end. I think it's fantastic, which goes back to Tarantino's
Soundtracks,
use of music. And I mean, I got the music on Pulp Fiction is not my favourite.
Oh really? Yeah. I think it's probably the most iconic soundtrack.
It is. I like. For me, it's like Reservoir Dogs.
That is a good.
Reservoir Dogs, which you've got Little Green Bag, the opening bass line, dun 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 dun. That's and of course Stuck in the Middle of You, Seal's Wheel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And Coconut as well.
Yeah. As the whole thing you see, when you see Travolta, Vincent Vega, and Jules Winfield in those geeky, nerdy clothes.
Yeah.
And you wonder how do you get them? Then you get to the whole Bonnie situation, and you find out.
And you have Tarantino, the ultimate nerd, calling them nerds.
Oh, he's
so funny.
Brilliant at it.
Like a couple of what is it? Dweebs, he says something.
Dorks.
That's it.
Dorks. I just watch it. When I was watching it.
And also, if you haven't seen it, you can see the original incarnation of Winston the Wolf, not the stupid insurance direct line version.
I actually wrote that down. Direct line advert. It's terrible, but they're getting made money
people,
from it.
Like even my dad said, like, "Oh, is that from a film?" And I say, "How do you?" Of course, it's from a film. Yeah.
But you don't know unless you actually
know. Yeah.
No, it's like so. I just hear gangster style and looking Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's just even like the flair of the dialogue in those scenes, like when he goes back to the junkyard and he says like, "Say goodbye, Crystal," or something like that, and she says goodbye, Crystal, not like goodbye to them. You know, like that's what real people do.
Joe's monster. Yeah,
truck. That's it. Yeah.
And what's her name? I can't remember her name
down. I can't remember her name now. Is it Janine or something?
It does begin with a J, I think. Yeah. Wait a minute.
I used to think for years, though, I had a little fan theory that Joe's Monster Trucks was owned by Joe from Reservoir Dogs.
Joe Cabot.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
Considering, like, now there is this whole thing about the Tarantino verse, isn't there?
Yeah. Let's have a look. What's her name? What's your name? Do I find out I've gone past that? It's weird to think that Jodie could have been played by Pam Grier.
Yeah, didn't he say he couldn't imagine her being pushed around by any man or something? That whole scene's iconic as well, isn't it? The whole
Raquel,
that's it. Yeah.
Raquel.
The whole sort of, the syringe scene.
Oh, gruesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and Peter Green as Zed, who was in Under Siege 2.
Yeah, and he's the bad guy in the mask as well.
Yeah. That is... Oh, that's a gruesome scene. And the GIMP. Everybody knows what the GIMP is, even if you haven't seen Pulp
Fiction. Bring out the GIMP. Yeah.
Wake him.
That's such a strange... That's a proper Tarantino-esque scene, isn't it? Like, it comes out of nowhere, that these two hillbillies are just running this.
And they're picking up the weapons.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, the thing that I really noticed is that even though Butch and Marcel Wallace have that beef with each other, instead of Butch letting Marcel be continuously raped by Mr. Rapist, he goes up and then spends a while picking out a weapon just to go back down. It's loyalty amongst thieves.
Yeah. It's like, it is nice to see like the compassion, like, because I don't know if like Marcellus would have done the same thing, but I think he recognises the fact that because he has done it, here's your free pass, like just
you stay gone
come back.
or you be gone.
Yeah.
You've just lost all your LA privilege.
Yeah,
that is a terrible
I love
Big Rames impression.
I know, that's great Big Rames impression.
In the time, I can't do it now because it's been a long while, but in the mid-90s I used to be able to do the whole Bonnie, the whole the whole Jimmy thing.
I
used to be able
to
do
separation. I'm gonna get fucking divorced.
Yeah, I'll never do it now because some of the language he uses you can't get away with now.
But we discussed that in the last one about Tarantino's use of the N-word. Like it's never gratuitous, and a lot of people think it is, but even Samuel L. Jackson has given his full support behind. Like, it's a word that people use, on the street. you know, and it doesn't always mean what you think it means, you know, like, and I think it's
not
hard
done with hate.
Yeah, it's tough to talk about because it is such a hateful word, but it's just like when you hear Samuel L. Jackson using it, like, it's how you think, well, if someone should use it, that's how they should use it, because it just sounds normal when he says it, you know.
It's not like in films like Black Klansman where it is actually used as a negative.
Yeah. Or I rewatched Mississippi Burning the other night, and that's, you know, bad in that as well, you know, like when it's hillbillies using it or KKK people, but it doesn't sound so. When you hear like Samuel L. Jackson using it or another black person, it sounds like maybe they're only authorised to use that word, you know.
But
I remember the first time I ever heard Denzel Washington say it, and it was really weird. Like,
isn't he the one that kicked up a stink about it on Crimson Tide?
I think so.
But Tarantino did script rewrites.
But then you look at Training Day, and he's like this big G. Yeah, and he uses that word all the time. You know,
but it's different. If he's gonna make him some money out of it, more money out of it. And the Tarantino at the time was, it's like on the if you get the deluxe edition of the soundtrack. Pulp Fiction, there's an actual bit towards the end. I'll go pull it up. Stranger Than Fiction. It's a 16 minutes 10 seconds. Tarantino talking through the script, the soundtrack, and he says about they were going to use My Sharona.
Oh yeah, it cost too much, didn't it?
Someone in the band didn't like it.
Oh,
they was using reality bites in the end, so they ended up using. I can't remember which song it is. He said he used it. He's got a. I think it might be "Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon." That part, so they lost out because one of the members of the Nax had turned Christian. He'd seen Reservoir Dogs and didn't like the idea of being used in a film, which is right. And he goes to show me. If someone said to me, if I was a songwriter, someone said Tarantino's interested in my work, I'd be like, yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Can I have his autograph, please?
Yeah, not I'm a Christian. No, can't do that.
It's you see, like loyalty is a big thing. If you look at just say you go going back to once in Pulp Fiction, you've got everybody's loyal to each other, and when someone crosses you, they're dead.
Yeah, you screw them up.
Yeah, so
you whack them.
Yeah, Vincent Vega and Jules Winfield, a great double act.
They are. Yeah.
Then
fantastic.
You've got Rick Dalton and Cliff,
Clint,
who are loyal to each other. Yeah, Cliff Booth, loyal to each other. They are.
Yeah, there's always that sort of that dual protagonist thing, isn't there, in Tarantino? Yeah. I mean, you've got Major Marquis and Sheriff. What's his name again? Walton Goggins in Hateful Eight. Lennox or something, isn't it?
Yeah, they.
I mean, they even go past their racial hatred for each other by the end of it.
Yeah, because they want to. The hangman's gonna hang on, so she's gonna hang.
Yeah, and that overrides everything else, you know.
Loyalty before anything else. It was
Mannix, sorry, not Mannix.
He's good at that. Goggins, I think he's superb.
And then you've got Django, and you've got King Schultz. Yeah. You've got. I think the only one where there's not really a sort of duo is Kill Bill, isn't there? Really.
Yeah, because it's her against the world.
I mean, maybe her and Bill, if you were to stretch it, because they do have that weird symbiotic relationship. Yeah. And then Death Proof's obviously like the two sets of girls. Yeah. You know, and there's that pattern of duality that goes through all of them, isn't there? I like that.
I like the fact that later films have Zoe Bell in it. I think she's cool.
And
oh god, coming soon when we get to it, episode 9, where we're going to be discussing Zoe Bell and how great she is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. I literally went, when I saw her, I was like, this is so cool.
I mean, is it not? Is Kill Bill the first one she was on? Or she was doubling Uma Thurman?
Let's have a look. Zoe Bell.
But I mean, Uma Thurman as well in Pulp Fiction. I mean, she's worth a discuss as well, isn't she?
She's brilliant.
She seems like Tarantino's muse, I think.
When she ODs, Kill Bill Volume 1, stunt double.
Yeah. No. I mean, that whole front cover with her as Mia is so iconic, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Even though it's not even in the film, you know.
No, but it looks good.
It does look good, yeah, and she really suits black hair, actually, I must admit. But it's just, you know that scene where she's dancing to "You'll Be a Woman Soon."
Yeah.
It's so naturalistic, and the Jack Rabbit Slim scene as well, you know, where they're just talking about crap.
Yeah.
And it's just normal people just having a meal together.
A $5 milkshake.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is,
and discussing like it's not Marilyn Monroe, it's Mimi Mandora. You know, it's just cool like that to see these people that usually have elevated status in films. I mean, something like The Godfather, you'd never get dialogue like that because they're serious gangsters. You know.
But how does this dialogue move the film along? It doesn't.
Yeah, and it works. But I think that's what didn't work for me when I was younger, was that I couldn't process the fact that you could have a 10-15 minute scene of dialogue, whereas when you appreciate the craft of film when you're older and you don't just like shooty bangs and blood, it's more.
I mean, part of my language, we got a 2 hour 30-minute film where people just talk nothing but bollocks to a non-linear storyline, and then you lap it up afterwards thinking you came out watching something special, which in reality is you watch something special that you're talking, you're quoting 25 years later.
Exactly. I mean, you can't imagine the bomb that would have been if they'd released that in the 80s. You know, it was the whole fantasy decade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
it would have been a cult small film.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have worked in the 70s, definitely, because the 70s was when they were trying all the different stuff, wasn't it? But yeah, no, it feels very much like a film of the 70s, like the New Hollywood sort of era.
To me, this was, you know, like I say, I mean, everything was glossy. This was an adrenaline shot.
Yeah.
It lost out the Oscars.
No pun intended.
It was. Oh yeah. that was unintentional. Yeah, and it lost out to the Oscars to Forrest Gump, except for the screenwriter one.
Yeah, see, and Forrest Gump, upon reflection, is a film I'm not that keen on now.
But then it goes back to when E.T. came out, wasn't it? E.T. was E.T. Blade Runner, and then The Thing.
Yeah.
Which were, and E.T. was the one that everybody was acclaiming, but now E.T.'s the one nobody really remembers outside the blockbuster status.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Pulp Fiction. No, people at the time who were raving on about Forrest Gump, people will rave more about Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
When I was at university, I was in my Steven Seagal phase, and seriously,
good Steven Seagal.
Yeah, it was up until the Siege 2. But I did love my Tarantino, and everybody was creaming themselves over Quentin Tarantino, and then it was Kevin Smith, and a bit was Robert Rodriguez. So I always associate Tarantino, Smith, and Rodriguez together, but Tarantino was always the big one.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the one that those three brought independent cinema back, and they made films that film students could grab hold of.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like he's like the ground zero for like that whole, you know, independent house that Quentin built movement, you know, with Miramax and that, because then you get people like Steven Soderbergh, and I don't know if Paul W.S. Anderson was around then, but I think
he was a bit later.
Boogie Nights seems really Tarantino-ish. Yeah, I mean, like he's a new sort of director that does the whole dialogue thing and really nails it. But you know, like that, it's like it was like another new Hollywood, if you like, you know, where the big guys were now the directors again instead of the actors.
But what amazes me is that 25 years after Pulp Fiction, I mean, we were saying that it's is it his 9th film that Once Upon a Time is 9 films, and you'll yet I don't care how mediocre the trailer is. I'm gonna go to the cinema. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna enjoy that film.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna go afterwards and want the soundtrack. As soon as I saw that the soundtrack was available for Hollywood, I grabbed it. I mean, I've got, like I said, I have the Pulp Fiction one. You know, Reservoir Dogs have had for years. I've had Pulp Fiction for years. Yeah. It's because you want the music as much as the film. You want
the whole package.
Yeah, want. Yeah. I want to sit down. When I sit down and watch Pulp Fiction, I still enjoy Pulp Fiction, and I still, you know, you get some films that remind you of a place you were when you watched it, and you have that rose-tinted glasses with it. With something like Pulp Fiction, you're still enjoying it, and you're finding things into it, but as much as it is still kind of a nostalgia trip for me, I'm still enjoying it because I fucking still, part of my language, I love the dialogue.
Yeah.
I love the fact that I love the characters, and I still love the Bonnie situation. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is funny, yeah.
Please, pretty please, with a sugar on top, how many films after 25 years from that period of time can you still quote like you can quote Pulp Fiction?
And I think like Pulp Fiction is synonymous with certain quotes as well, isn't it? Like the pretty please clean the fucking car. That and the whole Royale with cheese. I think that's the top of all his speeches in terms of the ones everyone knows. You know, like because everyone knows that speech, don't they?
Yeah.
Like and it just it's where you get to the end of the film and you're kind of like, wow, what have I just watched?
Yeah.
Even when I rewatch it, I still think, wow, this still seems like revolutionary now.
I watched before we did it on the other one is for the Reservoir Dogs, and I watched Reservoir Dogs on Blu-ray, and I sat down. You can't see this, but I have a specific chair I use when I'm watching it, so I give myself the cinema experience.
Yeah.
And when I was watching Reservoir Dogs, I had myself all set up, so like I was and I'm watching it on a pristine Blu-ray print, and I'm like sitting there going, this is like watching it the first time. And when you get that feeling of a film you've watched so many times, and you can get that, and when you're watching Pulp Fiction, and my fiance only watched it for the first time this year, and when it comes to talky films like this, I'm not sure how she's going to take it. It's the same with Bad Times at the Royale. Every time we have a film like that, I'm expecting her to go, what a load of rubbish. And when she enjoys it, I'm like, thank God I don't have to hear anything about how she didn't like it.
Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, watch something like Pulp Fiction, she put off because she didn't think it looked that good. And she watches it and she thoroughly enjoys it. And I'm constantly looking over, seeing if she's laughing at the right points and everything. And when she thoroughly enjoyed it, it's just brilliant. It's like, with something like Pulp Fiction, I like it, so I want you to like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so whereas, I can't believe I'm going to say this. If we're talking Episode 2 versus Star Wars versus something else, or if you don't like it, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Because you're entitled to your opinion, because, you're a Star Wars fan and you enjoyed the others. But when it comes to something that's, I think is so great that you have to love, if you don't like it, it's like I'm not trying to force my opinion on you, but
no.
It's kind of like when you get someone to watch it and they might not like it appreciate it as much as you do. It kind of feels you it's like
how did you not like that?
It's not that we're going on episode 8 trilogy, episode 8 where if you don't like, I'm going to be
my opinion is right and yours
is wrong, so I'm going to go all over the internet. I mean, some of you are listening to, if you don't like Pulp Fiction and you're more fond of some of his other films, like I said, Pulp Fiction isn't my favourite Tarantino film.
Yeah.
But it has so much good stuff in it.
Yeah, it's got that heady concoction, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I think it's like the Goldfinger of his films. It's where it establishes everything. And from this point onwards, you're watching Tarantino films.
Yes, that is.
That's how I'd best describe it, I think.
It's right. I mean,
just like from Goldfinger onwards, I'm watching a James Bond film
because of the formula.
Yeah.
But not that we're saying that there's a formula to anything
Tarantino
does.
I think that's why it works sometimes, because he goes against the formula.
Yeah. Didn't you always say he never wanted to make the same film, and everything he does is different?
Yeah.
Even though Django and Hateful Eight are kind of westerns but different formats.
Yeah, I mean, when Hateful Eight first came out, I thought, oh, is he just doing another western because the last one was successful? And then I was blown away by how, it's a horror film, like slash detective. Yeah. It's the Thing, and they've even got Kurt Russell in it.
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
Ennio Morricone to do music. It's just. Yeah, it's.
And Zoe Bell.
And Zoe Bell.
And
yeah.
Zoe Bell.
Well, no, she is quite sort of submissive in that film, isn't she?
She's secondary, but how many people would hire someone that's essentially a stunt woman
as actor?
I like the fact that 6 Horse Judy and the same again. I should have a shot every time I say it. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
She's an actress, and I like the fact that she's an actress. And come on, and Samuel L. Jackson's in Hateful Eight.
Yeah, he's cool.
He is.
Major Marquis.
Yeah. And he's the voiceover in Kill Bill.
And Inglorious.
No, he's playing Inglorious. I mean,
he's the piano player.
Yeah. And I like that. And I like how he becomes the star of Jackie Brown.
I think there's only a few that he's not in, isn't there?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
And Reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is good in Jackie Brown.
Yeah. But then again, that goes to show a lot of people may not know Jackie Brown because he's one of his least well received. But they know AK-47. Pardon?
It used to be my least favourite actually, but now I'm rewatching it. It is really good actually. And
De Niro's a biatch. That's why I like it.
Yeah, and also like getting people onto Pangria, before you may not have known who she was, or but then I think like a new generation of people will go, oh, I like Pam Grier's cool, Jackie Brown's cool,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and watch her back catalogue, and that's everything to Tarantino
Yeah.
because he has I think wasn't there a story about when he hired her, he had posters of her on
For
a wall
Pulp
and he
Fiction.
was embarrassed. Oh, was it
The
Pulp
audition
Fiction?
for Pulp
Yeah,
Fiction. He didn't know whether to take them down or keep them up.
Yeah.
So he kept them up. It was his office.
yeah.
But
I mean, but then like I think onwards, like people think of Pam Grier as Jackie Brown now,
yeah,
not as Coffee or as Foxy Brown.
she's good in both.
She is, yeah. I mean, she's great. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of blaxploitation, but her films do have that sort of that great coolness and edginess to them, don't they? Like,
I like the whole. I like the power aspect and how it's
yeah,
what they're doing with us, which the comic books have done for ages, for years, and it's having underrepresented as the heroes, and I really like. I sort of like, whereas when the Samuel L. Jackson, everyone goes on and on about Finn, John Boyega being cast, and him wielding a lightsaber, and you had a load of people who were against it. And Samuel L. Jackson wielding a lightsaber, you have people against that, and having the underrepresented being heroes is absolutely fantastic, and the fact that Samuel L. Jackson can open a film and has been in more blockbusters and generated more than anybody, and I think it's anyone that's racist, it kind of like it's a big finger up to them all, saying and. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson, one person you can see in a film, and I will go and see the film because it's Samuel L. Jackson, because I absolutely love Samuel L. Jackson, and that's all because of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, yeah.
When Hateful Eight came out, not Hateful Eight, Django and Chain came out, and spoilers, he's the actual bad guy in it. He's the lead bad guy.
They flipped the racism thing around by having. The white guy's kind of the
arch.
Yeah. I mean, it's not outwardly like that. He is still a slave, but he's the worst kind of slave.
He's the ringleader.
The one that. Yeah, it's just he's fantastic in that.
You can hate him in that, but at the same time, you're mourning him when you think this Nick Fury's been killed at the same time.
Yeah.
How can one actor do that? Because some actors have problems with it. Except for Ray Fiennes, who can be great in everything, but Samuel L. Jackson can play. You can be feeling for him in one role, then absolutely hating him in another.
Yeah, I mean, Jumper.
Yeah.
It's a mediocre film, but he's a good,
great villain,
scary villain, isn't he?
Yeah, great villain in that. But that leaves one of the biggest tricks in the book, in that by having him kill someone at the start, thinking he can't be reasoned with. He's the Terminator.
Yeah.
Type thing, and it's brilliant, and I think he's got such a great smile, Samuel L. Jackson.
He has, yeah.
But he can open a film without anybody else in it. You can literally have Samuel L. Jackson. You can literally have Samuel L. Jackson reading the entire Tarantino dialogue.
So I think, in a sense, he's kind of like Morgan Freeman's kind of similar, isn't he? Like you know his voice wherever you hear it, and
you must see someone else out. You have to take a shot afterwards.
What? Famous black actor.
Someone that could actually, as soon as you hear the voice, who's the most famous one?
Christopher Leon.
James Earl Jones.
Oh yeah, James Earl Jones. Yeah, sorry.
This is CNN International.
Yeah, but and that was kind of nice as well in that sense, wasn't it? Because he was part of the underrepresented.
Yeah.
And he was always like quite humble about not being in the credits and stuff. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson's like the tentpole, isn't he, for most productions?
How many people can actually can request the purple lightsaber, get it with BMF on the bottom?
BMF on the bottom, yeah. So again, because of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I used to have a bad motherfucker wallet, actually.
Yeah. I don't know if I would mind it.
But that brings me on to a scene I really wanted to talk about as well, the diner scene, where they do it twice. Tim Roth and Honey Bunny and.
If any of you MFing move, I'll execute every last one of you.
Yeah.
Dialogue changes at the end based on the perspective. You don't actually realise you're watching a big revelation at the start. You just think you're watching two people talking about diners.
And robbing people. It's great as well, like the fact that you can watch that scene at the beginning and see John Travolta in the background going for his dump. Or like, just the way that it like, they're bookends to the whole film, aren't they? Like, and it's so cool and so perfect. That you also that you've got a character that's about to be killed, still alive, and it's kind of weird seeing him still alive again.
But you don't actually think it when you're watching it. When you get to the point at the end where he's been shot, you don't actually think, oh, he's been shot.
Yeah.
It's just
you think
because
he's alive again.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's you're just enjoying the film so much, going from scene to scene. I've got Dinah. The bad mother wallet. That is, everybody knows
It's
that.
so iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, and
which wallet is it? It's the one that says "Bear Motherfucker."
and the whole thing about the Fonz. Everybody be cool.
Yeah.
Well, it was the Fonz. The Fonz is cool. It's referencing again popular culture.
Yeah.
Be cool like the Fonz. Happy Days. I can't sing right. Fonz. Little note I wrote when I watched it. Be cool like the Fonz. The Fonz. Happy Days. Happy Days links to American Graffiti, which links to Star Wars, which links to Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Because you've got the Fonz, which, Happy Days, which was written by George Lucas. George Lucas wrote Star Wars, directed Star Wars, which starred Samuel L. Jackson. So everything's all linked in the world.
The Hollywood web.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
thought that was.
Yeah, but the way he drops Pulp Fiction, the way he drops popular culture, even as far back as Reservoir Dogs, where they actually are discussing Pangria.
Yeah.
As Christine Love, and it's not.
That's the TV version.
Yeah, and it's not the right person. Yeah. That's what we all do. We go, oh, isn't that so and so? No, it's not her. It's so and so. That's what real people do. They remember things wrong, and through pop culture is how you connect, isn't it? I mean, they don't know they've got an undercover cop in the back of the car, but he gets involved in the conversation even though he's undercover.
Yeah.
And the whole motherfucker looks like the Thing.
Yeah.
It's just. It's stuff that he would say, or that we would say as well, but translated to the page, and it really to the screen. Sorry, and it really does work.
You remember at the time when Pulp Fiction came out, the geek culture was so underrepresented.
Yeah.
Now you can go into any place of work right now, and you can make a conversation about pop culture as it is, and television and movies. But back when Pulp Fiction came out, it was very. Yeah. I remember when I was working in retail, it was
cloistered, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like I was literally on my own. And there was no one really to talk to because nobody else liked what I liked.
Yeah.
So, I went. It goes a debate I've had with others about going to cinema because I like to go to cinema on my own because it's something I've always done. But a lot of people say it's a communal experience.
Yeah.
But for me, when I sit in the cinema, it's a solitary thing. So I can go if my fiance doesn't want to go and see a film like she was with Trainspotting 2. I will go and sit through Trainspotting 2 on my own, because, or if everybody else is at work, if it's a film that you want to see, we go and see it. But if it's a film that I want to see, I will, and I have no issue with it. But back in the 90s, this is the sort of thing you're in a circle that like that sort of thing was so small to non-existent.
Yeah.
If you're one or two people, not like, oh, have you seen the whole new Tarantino film, or have you seen the new superhero film, or new Star Wars film, because it's 97. They were non-existent until 97.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to try this coming soon. Don't try this at home. We're going to be doing Star Wars with shots.
No, don't know about that.
Yeah. Actually, don't try that at home. Please don't try that at home. Shots of lemonade, which I have here.
Yeah, that's
what we meant. But yeah. It's kind of crazy how it seems like Tarantino were ahead of the time in that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we were saying earlier, you watch it now and it still seems up to date. Doesn't seem like we rewatched Reservoir Dogs for the last one as well. I was surprised by how modern it still feels. Doesn't feel like this was made in 1993. It does feel like these guys just did this robbery yesterday.
Yeah.
It's that sort of. There's other films from the 90s I watch now and they're incredibly dated, because
usually the effects.
Well, yeah, that as well, but just the way they speak and it's so Hollywood 90s that you just it was saying Armageddon is one of these films. I love Armageddon to bits, but it's just the way they talk is so 90s Hollywood. It's unbelievable, and weird that Bruce Willis is in that as well. But it's just his films don't date. Unless they're specifically meant to date, with the period they're in.
I watched Speed a few weeks ago.
Speaking of the most dated action film of all time.
I thought, because Charlotte had never seen it.
I really don't like Speed. I don't get where all the fuss was with it.
Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, Keanu Reeves is much better now than he ever was, I think.
I turned off ages ago after Bill and Ted, so
No,
will
I mean,
watch
like,
it.
John Wick is just like, that is the action film franchise at the moment. And you
I
need
will
to watch
it.
it.
I'm one of these stubborn people. If I feel heavily pressured into watching it, but
No, yeah, I'm not. No,
No,
it's
not
just
you, not you. But
rejuvenated Keanu Reeves is great.
Yeah. No, but I will see him in Bill and Ted 3. So,
Yeah.
but we want to say we were on about earlier about career resurgences.
Yeah.
Let's look at Kurt Russell.
Okay, Russell as well. Yeah. I mean,
But that's in.
it's sad that I've only seen him in that Tarantino's only used him recently. It would have been great to see him all along.
Try to say about use of pop culture. If you look at Avengers Endgame, where they're talking about time heist.
And they reference time Back to Future and
that's very. You could literally imagine Jules and Vincent Vega doing
arguing. Yeah, that is weird. I've never thought about that. That is quite. I think because of the way Tarantino introduced pop. I keep saying pop culture into film vernacular. It's quite rare to reference pop culture before that in films.
Yeah, because even
now it's always done.
I mean, look at Kevin Smith and Clerks. I mean, the conversation they have in Clerks and Mallrats,
Yeah,
and even Chasing Amy, are all conversations that
you have with your friends.
Yeah.
Especially what's his name in Mallrats? The main guy.
Brody.
Yeah, like the conversations he has about comic books. There's only going to be a few people that were like, oh, wow, or wow, that's Stan Lee.
Yeah.
And I think Kevin Smith is the logical next step from Tarantino, isn't he?
But not stylized.
No, not stylized. No,
in terms of dialogue,
in terms of using dialogue to move the story along.
Kevin Smith, not to downgrade what he's done, but Kevin Smith for me is the sort of conversations I'd have, and is the sort of things that, in Mallrats especially.
Yeah.
Mallrats
as well. Like about the rebels being bad because they've killed innocent contract workers on the Death Star. That's something you never even thought about before, and it generates conversation. I mean, even Clerks 2 to an extent. Like which return is better.
It's the Jedi, not the King.
Yeah, it's just. But that's the sort of conversations you have with your friends.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really done before that.
No.
Before Tarantino and Kevin Smith, that whole independent explosion.
I'll show you a dialogue. It's one point where it just came to me. When they do the setup about the how she was in how Wallace was in the pilot.
Oh yeah, Fox Force 5.
And she was the funny one that tell a joke at the end of every episode. That's a great setup because when the end of the scene, when Vincent is leaving Mia after he tells the joke, and I'm just thinking, wow, they waited all that time just to do a setup for that. So I thought that was a nice little bit of business.
And for me, that was always like their sex scene as well. Like it was the payoff of that quick romance that they have, because you'd like to see them actually make it together, wouldn't you? But that's impossible.
Mr. Wallace.
Yeah, and the fact that he says like, when you're not going to tell Marcellus about this, and she's like, well, I'd be in just as much trouble as you, so it's our secret forever, and I like that fact that they have, and I think later on when they see Marcellus after the boxing fight, and she's like, oh, hi Vincent, how are you, like it's that kind of, I haven't told him anything, and I like that. I think that's really human.
It is.
That moment.
No way, because
they'd both be dead. Yeah, and she's even got the balls to say, I won't crash you up because I'll be in just as much trouble. I'd have to explain myself away, and I like that. I really like that.
Again,
it's compassion,
honour and loyalty.
Yeah, like you have with Butch later.
Yeah.
And it's nice, because I mean, you get the impression that she's not treated brilliantly by Marcellus Wallace.
She's a trophy wife.
She's a trophy wife, 100%. And the whole foot massage speech is a testament to that, isn't it?
Like giving a girl a foot massage is not like touching the holiest of holies.
Yeah, it's not even the same fucking sport.
See, this is the thing. It is so quotable.
Yeah.
But you're right. It goes on to.
And it's not that quotability is the marker of a great film. I mean, there's loads of shite films that are quotable, but it's how it's implemented. Like you say, they're using dialogue to drive the story. I mean, since the French New Wave, who'd done that? Yeah. Undisputedly, Godard is the master of that. But who did that afterwards? Tarantino.
Yeah.
Sadly, all those new Hollywood directors think they were the French New Wave Mark II. They weren't.
I think things like Tarantino don't now, especially in today's climate, doesn't make money.
No. But I like that. You know, I like that there's that fledgling. He still has that sheen of underground about him. You know, the big films that he's made, like Pulp Fiction, or even the films he didn't make but was in, like From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
That's a massive 90s film that you think.
Can you please release a decent Blu-ray of that?
Yeah, I know.
Please put.
Arrow Video should do it.
Yeah, and put on Full Tilt Boogie.
Yeah.
You do that, I'll buy it. I'm really.
But there's another guy from the 90s, Rodriguez.
Oh,
he's the Tarantino school as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think they sort of co-created it. I mean, for me, he's like a traditional style Hollywood filmmaker. He still does the action films, but again, the dialogue in his films is Rodriguez-esque,
yes.
you know, and I really like that. And Planet Terror is arguably the best part of Grindhouse, ironically.
Yeah,
which is what I liked about Grindhouse. I went in thinking, oh, I can't wait to see Death Proof, and then by seeing Planet Terror first, I was kind of like, I like Planet Terror more.
After we're coming soon, we're going to be doing the Grindhouse thing, but we're going to say it's going to be Planet Terror coming soon. It's going to be on our verses, our franchise wars, Planet Terror versus Death Proof. Just put it out right now.
100%. Yeah.
Because I'm Death Proof because I just think the ending's fantastic.
I liked, I much preferred the Grindhouse cut of Death Proof, where they cut out some of the dialogue where maybe I think it was a bit too dialogue heavy, and the shortened down version of Death Proof is much better, I think, because I think we saw the full version as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was quite surprised that I went in liking the Rodriguez one more.
I like Rodriguez. I think I like.
Oh
him
yeah,
best,
he's
so
fantastic. But I mean, they got Danny Trejo as like his Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, come on, who doesn't like Danny Trejo? Which leads us on to a Tarantino cast.
Yeah.
If you look at people like Tim Roth.
Yeah.
And Samuel L. Jackson, of course. John Travolta. I think Travolta's only been in one Tarantino film.
People Willis,
yeah, but the people associate with him, and of course you've got Uma Thurman's been in multiple.
Yeah, Uma Thurman.
And Steve Buscemi.
Oh yeah. He's like a blink and you miss it, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think the cool thing is this is one of these little things you only get if you've seen Reservoir Dogs. He's a waiter.
Yeah.
And Mr.
And we know how much he likes tipping, don't we?
Don't tip.
Yeah.
And it is people associating those actors with Tarantino.
Yeah, and you know what is weird as well about that tipping speech? That Tarantino again, where you think, oh, that's a Tarantino speech, and I learnt it because of Tarantino. Is that you actually do sit down and think, yeah, maybe I should tip more. You know, these people don't make that much money.
Minimum wage, but society says you should tip these people, not that people. That's also right.
Yeah,
it's if you go to a restaurant, you're expected to tip, even if the service. Yeah, I will not tip if the service bad.
No.
I've never done it. I've only done that a few times. I do believe in tipping, but. You go to McDonald's, they're doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, or like our job, you know, we don't get tips.
No.
And you know, it's just but it's opening your eyes through the dialogue.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Pulp Fiction. You know, where Captain Koontz, you know, Christopher Walken is the best example for me, where he does the speech about, you know, where the watch has been and there's this grand history behind it, and then it's not even. It's so funny that you know, he hit it up his ass. You know, it doesn't fall flat. Any other films, a lot of other films would have fallen flat by turning a serious story on its head, but only Tarantino could do that the way he does it in that. And it's the way Walken just stares down the barrel at you through the camera, like it's just, it's another weird speech that probably someone like only Christopher Walken could have done.
Yeah,
because he has that weird. Walken's always, for me, like he's teetering on the edge of being silly, and then goes straight back to being scary. You know, he has that weird voice cadence as well.
And again, he was in the James Bond film, and he was in the Batman film.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
so
one of the only Oscar winners to be in Bond, actually, isn't he? One of only 3. See if you can do that at home as well.
Okay. I'm gonna say Adele got one.
I don't know if she did. I know Sam Smith got one.
No. Oh, okay. Oscar winners is the other one. Halle Berry.
Yeah. One of them is Bond.
That would be Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yes.
Didn't Sam Mendes get an Oscar?
No, and Christopher Walken was the 3rd. I don't know if maybe it's more now, but it was always my little trivia Bond thing. Can
And the one that should have got the Oscar was Ray Fiennes, which is this.
Yeah, that's another story. Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely. If you listen to this, you're going to be thinking that I've got a love affair with Ray Fiennes. I just think Ray Fiennes is fantastic in his list.
Yeah.
Anything you put Ray Fiennes in, I think he's a superb actor.
I'd love to see him in a Tarantino film. He'd be like such a good chameleon.
I think the closest we've beaten so far is Hail Caesar, because he's in the Coen Brothers film, but he's brilliant in the Coen Brothers.
Yeah,
film.
and he's Paul W.S. Anderson as well. He's in Grand Budapest, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great in that as well.
Anderson's always been like a kind of.
I'm gonna have to,
Tarantino for me.
I don't want to watch Hail Caesar.
Yeah, I like the Coens.
Oh, Coen's are good.
But yeah, no, it is that. I don't know. Yeah, it's Pulp Fiction's just adaptable, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
To a lot of situations where you know, like you've not been in a situation where you've blown some guy's head off by accident, but you have been in a situation where you think, oh shit, I need to clean this up before X gets home.
Yeah.
You know, whether that be your mum or your partner, or you know that everyone can. Or
I'm usually the one that's in the situation of cleaning up.
I don't know. Probably not a lot of people have been in a situation where robberies happened in a cafe, but they have sat in a cafe and had a philosophical discussion like Jules and Vincent did. And it's that adaptability, you know, and the tip speech as well.
Yeah.
You may have sat in a restaurant and thought, do I want to tip these people? Yeah, I think Tarantino, Pulp Fiction is the one where he sort of filters all that stuff through and makes it perfect.
Yeah.
So that's why it's my favourite.
Like you say, it's the Goldfinger thing. So it's,
yeah.
Me, Goldfinger's, I think, for me, Goldfinger was overwatched, and for me personally, Pulp Fiction, I watched it so many times, and to me, it doesn't sound really like a fanboy, but you know, when something becomes so popular.
Yeah, The Dark Knight was the same for me. It did mean with the hype.
To me, like I said, for me, it's, and I'm not saying this just to be cool, but it's. I elevate Pulp Fiction, like you were saying, above everything else.
Yeah.
So it's, and again, like The Dark Knight, when you think of comic book movies, Dark Knight, even though Endgame made more money.
Oh yeah.
But Dark Knight is what everybody strives to be in independent cinema. Pulp Fiction.
I mean, how annoying was every dark superhero film after The Dark Knight?
That's true. I'm getting
done DC in again, you know.
I'm getting pissed off with all the Joker crap now.
Yeah.
Because everyone's raving on about, and it's actually.
I still haven't seen the Joker actually.
It's a good film, but if I'm going to be honest, this year for the Oscars, of the performances I've seen, I want Christian Bale for Le Mans '66 or Ford versus Ferrari is in some territories. I want that, and Rick and Cliff Booth, Brad Pitt, Rick Dalton, and
I definitely want to see those
DiCaprio.
two in Tarantino again.
Those two are brilliant.
DiCaprio's great. I like. He seems to be the muse for a lot of directors nowadays.
Yeah.
Scorsese's new muse, certainly. Isn't
Yeah.
He? And seeing him twice in Tarantino now, it's kind of cool. You know, like it's Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, he's.
Even Calvin Candy, is as evil as he is, like he's captivating to watch. Isn't he?
That bit where he accidentally smashes.
Yeah, and carries on.
Yeah,
you know, that's the sort of great acting that.
And Tarantino could bring it out. He can, you know, it's like people say, "I want to see a script." Literally, people just say, "Tarantino, I'll do it."
Yeah, I mean, and it's even that, like, you know, the speech about the thing that they believed in the 1800s, where black people had different parts of their brain.
Yeah.
And you think, I hate this guy, like, so racist and that. But then you need to keep watching, because the speech goes. It's not a speech I remember, but it's a speech that is that film's sort of like peak moment, isn't it, where everything changes. And again, Tarantino could only do that.
Yeah.
The way he does it.
And I like what Christoph Waltz is.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, another Oscar winner. So.
Another Bond. I love that as well.
We'll have to go through how many Tarantino stars are actually in.
It's whatever.
Bond.
Yeah, so and so. Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. So.
Pulp Fiction out now, aren't we?
Yeah. Coming soon. Okay, so
Jackie Brown,
I think I can't say any more than Pulp Fiction other than if you haven't got the soundtrack, buy the soundtrack. And why didn't you? This is more to the people who own the rights. Disney now.
Oh, well,
Miramax. I know it's
Disney
Miramax.
technically always was. I know Miramax, weren't they? And
but
Dimension.
why haven't we had the 25th anniversary edition? I actually held out.
Yeah.
I actually didn't buy Pulp Fiction. I could have saved a lot of money on my Blu-rays if I'd bought the box set, but I held out for 25th anniversary edition of it,
Yeah,
which
see,
I never did.
Caved and bought the XX box set.
I have it all individually, but yeah, Pulp Fiction still a classic after 25 years. That's my final words on that one.
I think it gets more interesting from this point onwards, because this is where the Tarantino train gets divisive. Like whether you like Jackie Brown or not, or Kill Bill or not. You know, this is where it will get more interesting, I think, because we both loved the first two films, so there's no real disparity. So this is where it will get interesting, I think.
So next time on our Tarantino-a-thon, coming very soon,
Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown.